This conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to call the village board to order for Tuesday, April 25th, 2023. Roll call, please.
President Kardowski.
Here.
Trustee Paul.
Here.
Trustee Zerval.
Here.
Trustee Atkinson.
Here.
Trustee Krieger.
Here.
Trustee Flukie.
Here.
And Trustee Service.
Here. Please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please remember our men and women throughout the world in uniform. I have no changes to the agenda. I need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, I will make the correction before we start that it is March 28th minutes, but it says February on the posting. But
Yep.
I need a motion to approve the open and closed minutes from March 28, 2023.
Motion to approve.
I have one question, or one correction. I'll second it, and then I have a correction.
Okay.
Correction is on 9H. It's packet page 8, and I did vote against the Ridge Road Valley View pavement marking.
You know what, Tracy? I listened to that meeting, and I thought you voted no also, but it sounds on the recording that you voted yes.
Really?
Yes, because I said to Joel, I said, I think Tracy voted no on this, but when I listened to the recording
It sounded like
online, yes.
Well, I did say no, so please change it.
Okay. It's 9H, the Valley View marking.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, she said she did vote no, but it did sound as though
Did
she
it? No.
voted yes.
I'll have to be
Yeah.
clearer.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve those minutes with the changing of Tracy's vote to no on the Valley View pavement marking, Ridge Road, excuse me. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 6, comments from the public must be limited to items not on the agenda. Must state your name and address. You're limited to 5 minutes. The board's role is to listen and not discuss the item. Personnel issues cannot be discussed nor individuals named, and the board is not able to take action at this meeting. Is there anybody who would like to speak on anything that is not on the agenda? Anybody want to speak on anything not on the agenda? Anybody online virtually that would like to speak to anything not on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on. Number 7, written communications and/or announcements. I do want to make a comment to Rex and his crew in the forestry department. We've received a lot of feedback from the Foley's Tree Service that is taking down our ash trees. Just a lot of really great feedback. So it's always nice to get that for our people. They're clean up all very well and just very impressed with the work they do. So I wanted to mention that.
Mary, I'll second that. I got the same thing from some residents.
Yep.
They're doing a fantastic job. They couldn't believe how clean they are.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else have any written communications? Okay, moving on. Number 8, action on the consent agenda. 8A, action on annual renewal of a conditional use home occupation license located at 1394 Bruce Lane. 8B is budgeted expenditures. 8C is the March year-to-date general fund financial report. 8D is the investment report. And 8E is the department reports for April. Anybody have anything that they would like pulled, or I need a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 9, public hearing. Public hearing regarding ordinance number 04-2-23, regulating portable toilets. Aaron?
Thank you. The proposed ordinance regulating portable toilets is meant to address issues that come up during the Packer season primarily, where as our enforcement staff receives complaints from residents regarding the sanitation, location, and condition of portable toilets, generally in the stadium district. As it stands right now, there is no ordinance on the books that would allow us to do anything else other than basically give a call or stop in at the residence and ask them to please clean up their toilet or move it in a location that's away from, say, someone's side yard where it's adjacent to a bedroom window, things like that. What the ordinance does at this point, it does lay out proposed standards for both timelines for portable toilets as well as standards for cleanliness, so on and so forth. The proposals are separated out different requirements for residential, commercial, industrial, and public use zone properties. Public Works Protection Committee did hear this earlier this month and recommended approval on a 3-2 vote.
Okay. Is there anybody here, this is a public hearing, that would like to speak for or against this ordinance? Is there anybody here who would like to speak for or against this ordinance? One more time. Anybody who'd like to speak for or against this ordinance? Okay, I need a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. 10, action items. 10A, action regarding ordinance number 04-2-23, regulating portable toilets. Aaron, do you want to say any more on this?
No, it's pretty clear. This enforcement on this will be basically complaint driven. So when we receive complaints, as we have in the past, this will give us the ability to actually enforce the ordinance if we don't receive compliance. As code enforcement officials, our first goal is always compliance when it comes to our ordinances.
You know, this does address, I get complaints every year that people have porta potties delivered, and they have them delivered before family night in August, and they sit there through January playoff games, and it does get a little annoying to some of the neighbors in the neighborhood when their neighborhood is speckled with portable toilets. So I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a comment on that first. I do like the idea of the time limits on it, but let me get this straight. This does not force them to put it behind the house, alongside of the house, to get out of the neighbor's view.
That's correct. We did evaluate that option. We looked at it in terms of practicality. We ran into issues in terms of a lot of homes have fences, they have narrow side yards, garages close to the side yards, and practically speaking, getting these porta potties required to be in the rear yard or the side yard would be exceedingly difficult.
I disagree with that. Because if you are in the business of parking cars, as most of them are used for, they have ways of getting cars in the back of the yard. We have an ordinance that the garbage cans have to be behind or concealed on the side of the house or in the garage or someplace visible from the road. But you're going to have the Schmidt houses sitting in front of the darn house, and your neighbor is going to call me and say, I'm tired of listening to that house door slam all night long, and it's sitting right in front of the house. So I am going to vote no on this again, like I did at the Public Works Committee. Those have to be concealed, as well as the garbage containers.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
Is there anywhere else in the ordinances, Aaron, that would address what Gary's saying, that they would have to be concealed in some manner if they're not in this section?
No, this would be the only section that would have that requirement.
Yeah, they got to be out of the right of way. Big deal. That don't make any sense. They should be out of the view of the public.
So does this, I might have missed it, does this specify when they have to be out of view at all?
It has a timeline on it in terms of removal of the porta potties for servicing. So there are certain time limits associated with this. I believe it's 36 hours after the event, the portable toilet has to be removed. There's a provision in there if you have certain back-to-back games where you can keep it on the site, but it does have to be serviced.
So it has to be removed, it could be serviced and brought right back?
You can have it on the site. Let me just take a look at the ordinance quick. For your residential areas, give me a second here. According to the ordinance, shall be cleaned and serviced a minimum of once a week. Shall not be located in any zoning setback or public right-of-way. And then when there's a Lambeau Field event planned for at least 25,000 attendees a day, requires the following standards. A portable toilet shall not be located within any zoning setback or public right-of-way. Shall not be placed more than 36 hours prior to the start of the Lambeau Field event, and shall be removed not more than 36 hours after the start of the Lambeau Field event. When Lambeau Field events are planned within 7 calendar days of each other, a portable toilet may remain on site, provided it is cleaned and serviced within 36 hours of the events. So it does have a window of time where the portable toilet could be on site, but it has to be removed. And then if you do have back-to-back Packer games, it can remain on site, but again, has to be removed in 36 hours after that last Packer game.
Right, okay, so for instance, if the games aren't back-to-back, it's got to be off-site within 36 hours, can't go back in until within 36 hours of the next, okay,
That's correct.
okay.
So now the neighbor's got to look at it all week. A back-to-back
On back-to-back.
back-to-back game. Got to look at it all week. You know, I've had people call me on this, and they said, mine is concealed. And I know the people, you know, actually it was concealed so well, I knew he had one, but I didn't know where. And people are concealing them so that they're not in the public view. And I know some people are going to call me again, just like they've done last year, if this continues like this. You know, they spend all this money on a home, and you can't put a gate or something if it's fenced in wide enough to get a toilet behind the gate alongside of the garage? I disagree.
Well, you know, sometimes though, Gary, that adds to the problem, because then they go behind the garage or on the side of the garage, and then they're right in front of the bedroom windows for the neighbors. So that doesn't make any sense either. I'm glad that this ordinance,
So really, Mary, it doesn't make any sense to have the porta potty on the property, period.
well,
Because
I'd
wherever
rather
you
have,
put it, it's hurting some people someplace.
I'd rather have the porta potty there than the people using the bushes all the time. 'Cause that's what they do,
Well,
you know? You and I both know. I talked to somebody a couple
we've
weeks
seen it.
ago.
I know it, I
That
know it.
the lady that parks cars next to him, she puts up a tarp and tells people to go behind the tarp. And so, anyway, I'm glad that they have to be gone, because they can't sit there from August. I personally wouldn't even mind if they had to be gone, even if there's back-to-back Packer games, you know? Because if you got 36 hours before, and then you got the event, and then 36 hours after, that's 4 days that porta potty can be there. So I'm okay with this, you know, like I said, if it could even be gone, but
I
anyway.
want to make a motion to deny it.
Okay, Gary made a motion to deny. Is there a second? We don't have a second, so the motion fails. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the ordinance as stated, but take out the 7 days leeway. Say it has to be out 3 days after, and it can only be in 3 days before.
36 hours, not
3
3 days. No, it's 36
Okay,
hours.
sorry, 36
Day
hours.
and a half.
Okay. Oh, that's right, yeah.
So you're making a motion to leave it the way it is, but in
Take-
back-to-back Packer games, they still have to remove it.
Correct.
Can we do that?
Certainly.
Okay, that's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
I mean, I think Gary's point is valid, I really do. And maybe we can look at that in another ordinance and see if we can address that, because I agree, I mean, to have that next to you and not have it hidden, I mean, we require them to hide their garbage cans, and then we don't require this, so I think it's something we should look into, but I think this ordinance is important as well, to make sure we're controlling them being there and how long.
I like the idea of having some control over how long they're there and how clean they are.
Yeah.
And it's a first step,
Yeah.
and we can see how this goes. And if we need to modify it later or, after this Packer season, we can make another adjustment.
That's only complaint driven. Nobody follows up on it unless it's complaint.
Okay,
So if I can make a recommendation, would the motion be by trustee Flukie, motion to approve the ordinance as presented minus the 7-day exception?
Yes, that's fine, thank you.
okay. Does everybody understand that? Are there any more comments about it? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance 04-2-23 minus the 7-day exemption. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Okay, 10B, action on Class A beer, Class A liquor license, and Class B beer license request by Black Birch Hospitality LLC, DBA Wingate by Windham Green Bay Airport. Chris?
So this hotel, has a new owner. And when they called me and talked to me about, getting a liquor license, they told me what the people had before. And then they told me they had a sundry shop. So I said, well, you don't have a license to do what you want to do if you want to sell in that sundry shop. So they decided to get a Class A beer, Class A liquor for the sundry store. So that's closed containers, so people can go in and buy and then, take it back to their room or whatever. And then they also have a Class A beer license for the hotel, but it excludes the sundry store. So there's two separate applications here, but you can make one motion for it. And I believe someone's supposed to be here or online
Young lady.
to speak. Oh, hi. Does anyone have any questions?
All right, that came up at Public Works and Protection. Chris had cleaned up, seeing they had two different licenses, and she got that taken care of with them, so there's no other questions. I'll move to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second to approve the Class A beer, Class A liquor license, and Class B beer license request by Black Birch Hospitality LLC, DBA Wingate. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, 10C, action on Class B beer, Class C wine license request for Ruzziconi Restaurant Group, LLC, DBA Riverside Pizzeria of Green Bay. I should have put my glasses on, I'm sorry. Okay. Chris?
Okay, so this is a new restaurant going in where the old Heartland Pizza Company was. And Ryan is here to speak if you have any questions.
This is the old Heartland Pizza, correct? Okay, any questions?
Same thing, it went through the Public Works and Protection to former pizza place. We had no problems with it. We checked with, I believe, the safety department, everything was good, so move to approve as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second to approve the Class B beer, Class C wine license request for Ruzziconi Restaurant Group.
Can I
LL
make one
I'm
other
sorry?
comment? I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just want to state that I found out today from the GIS coordinator that the address is not 2822B, it's 2822 Suite 100. And the owner was made aware of that this week also. So I just wanted to make that correction.
Okay. Okay, any other questions or concerns about this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. 10D, action on proposed ordinance amendment number 04-1-23 regarding regulated tent timelines. Aaron?
The requested or proposed ordinance is to address the length of time under which permitted tents, so generally those that are 400 square feet or larger under the International Fire Code, may remain basically erected in the village. We had some issues this last season with one tent in particular that was up the entire season. We received a number of complaints about that, and that is a permitted tent under the IFC, and this would basically put a timeline on tents, or again, permitted tents under the IFC, of which, again, it basically can be erected no more than 72 hours prior to an event, and then taken down or removed from the site no less than 48 hours after the event for which the tent was erected concludes. It does include an exception for basically back-to-back Packer games where the tent can remain up in that situation, but in no case remain up for longer than 13 consecutive days.
So the tents over 400 square feet fall onto this?
That's correct. This would not, you might see in residential areas some smaller tents.
Yeah.
Those are not permitted tents. There are no permits required for that under the International Fire Code, which is one of our building codes. Okay. So we do not have a permitting standard for those. We don't regulate those under the IFC.
All right. We had a few last year that stayed up way too long. So, all right, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, does anybody want to make a motion?
Nobody make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve 04-1-23.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance amendment number 04-1-23. Any other comments, questions, concerns? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. 10E, 2022 audit update.
All right, now the fun starts, right? So audit is, for the most part, completed as far as the 2022 financials are concerned and processes. So that whole process starts late November, preliminary audit, and then we get into the financial audit at the end of February. So I've worked with the auditors, we've gone through all the numbers, made adjusting entries, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, at this point, the numbers are final, and we're at a reporting phase where we're going through the CAFR, or excuse me, the ACFR, state report, things like that. And those final reports will be done sometime in May, end of May, and then we'll have Baker Tilly representative come in to the board meeting in June to present the audit findings to all of you. So I wanted to just kind of give you an update of where that is, the process. Overall, I think things went well. I don't expect there to be any major issues, concerns. There's typically some minor things here and there, but nothing overwhelmingly concerning. And I wanted to just kind of walk through the numbers a little bit for the specifically the general fund. At the end of the day, we netted out to zero, but we'd planned that. I'd come to the board saying if we had any excess, if you recall, we did some transfers to some other funds, transfers between health, dental, transfers between our village building fund to the health fund. And then we also approved that any excess funds available through the general fund would go to the health retirement fund, employee retirement fund. And that is reflected in the numbers that you see before you. So overall, it's a zero impact to the fund balance, which is what was budgeted. Within here, there's a lot of random variances. A couple of the larger things to note through the financials. One is you'll see in kind of refunds, if you recall, we had this discussion at budget time that we had a huge transit refund, took that out of the expenditure line item and put it into a miscellaneous revenue rebate refund line. So that's one item. It's creates two variances within the revenues and expenditures, but washes out. But it was a larger rebate than normal. Public safety expenditures in general were higher. We had a lot of open vacancies within the department, and that in turn creates overtime to kind of fill those time slots throughout the year. And so Those are variances that we knew were happening along the way. Being when you're short manpower, they've got to bring people in. They come in at an overtime rate when they're coming in on their off days, if you will. We had a good year in permitting. We had a lot of construction going on, so our permit revenue was higher than normal. And some other areas of, I think, yeah, public safety. Those were really the big ones overall. So overall, the financials were good, strong, and I would expect the final audit will be a good reflection on the village. So if anybody has any questions, specifically more detail on some of the numbers, we can get into that. Oh, room tax was the other one. Room tax was a good year, bounced back significantly throughout the county, but specifically for us, and I believe the city of Green Bay as well, filled up the hotels a lot quicker than coming off of the COVID variances in the past. So it's just discussion only. If anybody has any questions, certainly entertain those.
Anybody have any questions for Greg?
Greg, public charges for services, what, can you just quickly define that?
So anything that we do, we provide a service that we charge a fee. So for example, in public safety, we provide inspection services or police or rescue services for rec center events. We'll bill them for that. If the public works were to do some random services outside of our normal scope of operations, we'll bill out time and energy. So when we do runs, Cellcom run, things like that, where we have public works and public safety personnel helping, we will bill Cellcom in this case for those services. It also includes all the park and rec, all of their programming revenues are in there. So all the lake concessions, admissions, all the different adult and youth recreation programs, that's where those revenues are.
So is that just general revenue then?
All of this is considered general fund revenue,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
It's just categorized by taxes, intergovernmental, permits, licensing, fines and forfeitures, charges for services, things, and then investments and other miscellaneous.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Greg. 10F, action on banking services contract.
So the Village of Ashwaubenon contracts its banking services with Associated Bank and has for, I try to look back, I think it's pretty much been forever with Associated or pre-associated name banks, if you will. The contract is up at the end of May. I'm proposing to do just a 2-year extension and continue those services. They provide good service for us. We do all of our electronic banking, we do our payroll through them, et cetera. We don't do payroll through the bank, but they process and send it out to all the employees' bank accounts. The contract that they have before us is the only change to what we have existing is a 1 cent increase for items deposited, which would be an average of about $16.19 per month increase in fees. So it's really, minimal impact to this extension. We have not done an RFP since 2010, and that is something I would like to do. It's a very time-consuming process, and at this point wouldn't have time. So we discussed this at Finance Personnel about wanting to do that. Probably would look to do that before we would extend again. So that would be the next phase to do an RFP for banking services. I think that's good for the village to do that on a more consistent basis. It's not something you want to do every 3 years, maybe something every 10, and it was discussed that maybe we should put something in a policy that just mandates that RFP process so that it's not seen as arbitrary or subjective by any person within the village. So with that, I would propose that we approve the 2-year extension with the bank, with Associated Bank, and then know that we'll probably start an RFP process likely in the June, July, August of 2024. It takes a good 9 months to kind of walk through the whole thing, beginning to end.
Greg, if we looked at all to make sure that what we are being charged is not unreasonable, I have experience working with Associated from another organization, and Associated was the highest in the area as far as bank charges. Now, this is a minimal increase, but where are they starting from is the question. And the other thing I would point out is at one point this probably made sense because Associated was within Ashwaubenon. It no longer is anywhere near Ashwaubenon. And there's a number of organizations, banking organizations within Ashwaubenon that would probably make more sense because they're residents of, or businesses within Ashwaubenon.
Right, and the last time we did it, like I said, we bid it out. They end up, the pricing overall is, it's pretty close for most, and there really aren't a lot of institutions, and maybe that's changed, and we could find that out, aren't really qualified to handle the volume that we have and the collateralization needs that we would have and things like that. So, but certainly times have changed a lot in 12, 13 years. So it would be a really great opportunity to hold them accountable for their rates as well and see what else is out there, what other
Yeah, I would really like, before we say go 2 years, to find out how much are they charging compared to what another financial organization would charge us. Because I know the organization I was working with, it was much higher. It wasn't just a little higher. It was much higher.
I'm trying to think of, I think most of my colleagues in the area do use Associated, so you have to try to find a like community because you get, there are difference in rates by volume. So if we're comparing against a smaller entity, and most places aren't openly willing to give you their rate structures, so I'd have to find, I mean, I'm more than happy to do that, to see what I can find out.
You know, because we got Nicolay Bank in our area, even some of the credit unions now can handle volumes like that. You know, we have other capital credit unions in the area. I do recognize you have different specialty needs, but a lot of them do handle payrolls and all this other stuff. So I just don't know about 2 years. Do we really want to push this out 2 years? Not knowing if their rates maybe are out of line and we're going to be charged a lot more for bank services than what we should be getting charged.
Yeah, just to tie into Greg's statements too, and one of the reasons why we had suggested or recommended the 2-year window is just the timing of other operational needs from a finance perspective. If we want to go out and price out other financial institutions, my recommendation would be to go through some formal RFP process because every municipal customer is going to have its own unique contract, and those prices are going to be determined based on really kind of more competitive bidding, if you will. And they're not based on a consumer price that you would get if you were any other organization looking to do banking at that institution. So if the board desires that approach, then I would recommend that we follow our purchasing guidelines, go through a formal RFP process. Just bear in mind that does take time, obviously, and we need to accomplish that. The banking transition is a pretty cumbersome process.
Understood.
So the idea behind the 2 years was to give us some time to put the RFP together, put together a transition plan so that when we are ready to advance to potentially maybe a new institution, we have the resources in place that it becomes a little bit smoother. As of right now, we had not put together a transition plan so that if we do in effect have to transition, we'll be at a scramble for quite some time.
We discussed this at Finance and Personnel and had some of the same comments that came up there, Jay. And I agree, I think we need to always put this stuff out for bid, but it is a big process. And, we're talking a year and a half probably by the time, because you're getting everything organized and then it will start. So, as a committee, we're comfortable waiting that year and a half, but I think that putting a policy in place also that maybe it doesn't go quite as long is another backstop for it so that it's not done, 10, 12 years after we originally started with somebody.
Yeah.
Right, at the committee too, we talked to Greg, these same questions were brought up, we talked to Greg, and Greg had mentioned that this is very highly competitive, if I remember right, highly competitive situation where bank to bank, they don't seem to stray too far from each other, it's just that competitive. And again, Greg talking to other communities, we were comfortable with what we're doing here right now. But yeah, we do need to definitely, it's been a number of years Yeah, since we've checked on this and it's due time, and Greg knows that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a question, Greg, about the collateralization, how that works with the bank and how that's covered when we go over the FDIC amount?
Right, so they'll look at basically our average monthly balance and what the needs are to cover that. And that's why you get into, First Wenholz Bank, who has one branch in small town, they just can't handle that load. They don't have the ability to do that. So that's kind of what they're doing, and they want to make sure that if something happens, it's more or less an insurance policy to cover what our balances traditionally are. And we'll go up to, close to $40 million when tax collection's in full boom in January. And it obviously trickles down as the year goes along. So that point in time, it's critical that we have the coverage in case something were to happen.
So they cover any amount, up to 40 million, you're saying they
Well,
cover?
whatever those
Whatever
numbers are, they'll have a
value we
range.
have, they would
Right.
cover, okay.
They have to have the ability to cover those balances.
Thank you.
And with that, a lot of smaller banks don't have that capability of collateralizing those amount of assets. So that's going to be one of the challenges too in going through the RFP process, is finding a financial institution large enough to account for, let's say, $40 million, because they basically have to have that in liquid assets then that you're collateralizing in the event that there's a failure, that they have those funds available. Short of taking all of our liquid cash assets and putting them in multiple institutions up to $250,000, it's just not practical either.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve the 2-year contract extension with Associated Bank.
There you go, Chris.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the banking services contract with Associated Bank for 2 years. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. 10G, Timber Lane Bridge Aid Petition. Brian.
All right, as you guys can see in your packet, we did work with McMahon to have all of our large culverts inspected throughout the village. Based on that report that we received from McMahon, we worked, Steve and I, to review those reports and come up with a plan to begin replacing all the large culverts throughout the village that are at or nearing the end of their service life. It was determined that the culvert on Timber Lane between Ken and Oak is at the end of its service life. It does have some areas where joints are separating. Near the flow line of the culvert, it is rotted through in certain locations. And there's also a sag or a collapsed part in the center of that culvert. With that, the county does offer a bridge aid program, which covers 50% of the cost of the replacement of a culvert that's 36 inches in diameter or greater. With that, this culvert does meet the criteria, and we're looking to essentially just have this project be applied for, the bridge aid program, and see if we can get some funding to support half of the replacement costs.
Brian, can you explain for me again exactly what the county bridge aid, don't we have to put into that every year, correct?
Yeah, so I had reached out to the highway commissioner. He stated that no, it is not anything that you have to pay into. That was something that I actually thought was also the case, but he had stated it wasn't, and he said that we were eligible to apply for it. From what he could tell, historically we haven't, but he said that we were eligible to apply. So I figured it's something that I was gonna get applied for and see if we can get some money to help replace the culvert out on Timber.
Good, thank you.
So Brian, does the bridge aid come from just county funds, or is it state and federal that the county's getting that they're rolling down to municipalities?
It actually starts at the federal level, boils down to the state, and then the state pushes it out to each county.
And then the county controls it and they allocate it out
Correct.
to the municipalities? Is there any stipulations behind it that we have to meet or anything?
It only applies to villages and towns. Cities cannot apply for it. And then just based on the condition, they review, all the documents that we submit. And then it just needs to be 36 inches in diameter or greater.
And then do we have to contract it out? Can we do it internally? Is there any requirements?
Just based on the size of these culverts, we would contract it out. We would also most likely contract out all of the design to run all the hydrology on it. And also work with an engineering firm to get all the permitting done. because there's quite a bit of permitting that has to go into it because it is a navigable stream.
Okay. Thank you.
Brian, is that culvert going to stay the same size?
I mean, without running the hydrology, I can't say yes or no, but likely. It's very common that they do stay the same size, only due to the fact that if you were to upsize it, you may create flooding downstream, or if you were to downsize it, you may create flooding upstream. So it's kind of a one of the things that they look into when they run the hydrology to see, you know, how big the pool is based on you know, the size of the culvert and the watershed that's coming to it.
Mary, is that the one we had a problem with flooding of a house?
No, that one's over on Shady.
Oh, that's a different.
That one's on
that's the only-
Shady.
Okay, the only reason I asked that question.
Okay.
This one we did have a problem with back in '94 or whatever, and then it's been replaced and made bigger since then. So I'm kind of surprised that this one actually has deteriorated that much, because it was a smaller culvert. Reason I know that is because my father-in-law lived there, and I ended up having to move all of his furniture from his downstairs to his upstairs because the water came into his house. He lived on Avondale. So I know at that time they had actually ripped out that culvert and put in a bigger culvert. But again, that was a lot of years ago.
Right. Just based on the acidity of our soil here, you know, based on what type of culverts used, a lot of times, you know, they put in galvanized steel culverts. They don't last near as long as, you know, a concrete culvert or aluminized steel. Galvanized steel, generally based on, you know, the soil acidity, you're lucky to get 30 to 40 years out of them, sometimes shorter than that. And it all depends on, you know, if the galvanizing was compromised, you know, if someone nicked it or scratched it, that's essentially just the start of it. It does have areas that you can literally stick your hand through it, that there's holes in it, so.
So what will the new pipe be made of?
In the engineer's estimate they received, it's concrete. It's essentially, it's a concrete box culvert because you can't get concrete pipe that's that large in diameter.
Brian,
Brian, oh, excuse me.
go ahead.
Brian, that last picture I'm looking at, is that actual ground that I'm looking at where it's lighter? Rusted
Just
out
let
that bad?
me get the item
Last
open here.
picture on the.
Yeah, so that is, it's actually, it appears like, I didn't go out there with a hammer, but it almost seems like it's actually concrete. It's hard. So I don't know if they poured a concrete collar around it because they knew the joint wasn't well when they originally installed it. But the joints are displaced. You can also see in that photo, if you look at the top portion of that photo, there's actually a part that's already caved in.
Yeah.
Which is unique because if you look at the roadway above it, there's no, you know, pothole or anything yet. But maybe it
Yep.
you know, happened during the installation.
I know they did some erosion control on that within the last couple of years too, Brian, where the one side of it, they actually like extended the pipe. I don't know, maybe Steve would know more about that, because there was some erosion control or something that they were doing, the neighbors around it. Rex, you might even remember, because you live right in that neighborhood. They did something to extend that pipe out a little bit further, because I think it was eroding the neighbors' yards next to it. Yeah, that was on Timber. No, on Pioneer, I'm sorry, you're right. That was on Pioneer. I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right, you need a recommendation of approval on this, is where we're going with this?
Yep.
Motion for, all right, I'll make a motion to approve the project with getting Bridge Aid Fund assistance, I think is what it should say.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to petition Brown County for bridge aid funds to assist in the replacement of the culvert on Timber Drive north of Ken. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. 10H, discussion and potential action to use TID4 funds for West Main Avenue trail plannings. Rex?
Okay, this is West Main Avenue Trail. We finished up a section of the trail in 21-22. At the time, we had explored going further to the east. Right now, the trail on West Main is on the south side of the road from Packerland to South Ridge Road, right in front of Monroe Truck. We had looked at going further to the east at the time when we did the last section, but at that time we had thought that the TID 4 district would be closing last spring. So we only did the section that we thought we could reasonably do time-wise in that period. However, TID 4 now is not going to be closing, or did not close last spring. We're able to get another year out of it. And so this section of trail on West Main from Ridge to Highway 41, whether it be trail or sidewalk, it's in a number of our plans. And my thought is if we've got some TID money available right now to use, whether we use it to construct, at the very least, let's use it for the planning process so that when additional money does become available for the trail, it's kind of shovel ready and ready to go. Here's what's going on with West Main right now. It's a county highway. There's a lot of utilities, the majority of them being on the south side of the street. A lot of fiber optic line. So what we need to do is we need to figure out, number one, what's going to work there, a trail or a sidewalk, or maybe a combination of the two, somewhere along that whole stretch. And then will it fit within the right-of-way that we currently have? Do we need to move any of those utilities or fiber optic lines further back to put the trail and or sidewalk in? If we do need to move them further back, do we have enough room to do that within the right-of-way? Or will we need to look at contacting some private homeowners and seeing if they would be willing to grant us an easement to be able to do some of that work? Now, again, this money we're asking for this evening isn't to do the actual construction or movement of the lines. It's just to figure out what are we going to need to do so that when the project, when we do have full funding available again at some point in the future, and at some point we'll need to do it, it's more ready to go. I will say that as part of the last project, McMahon and Associates, who we've been working with on this whole section of trail, as well as Sand Acres Trail, they've already done some of the work. So it's not like we're reinventing the wheel. We just need to go back, see if there's any additional fiber optic and lines put in, and then try and work on the spacing and whether we've got that space. McMahon has put together an estimate for service cost of $20,900. I will say that there's probably some additional costs involved. There always are, especially if you're dealing with WPS. They always they always bill separately directly to the village. But for McMahon services, we're looking at a cost of $20,900 to at least get the planning process going and figuring out what we're going to need to do moving forward to make that final connection to Highway 41.
Rex, what are you looking at in time from what you want now to when the trail would be completed? Do you have any idea on that?
McMahon's work with their workload right now, I'm going to guess that the planning process will probably go well into the fall or late fall. Really, then it's up to the village board and funding opportunities of when actual construction could take place. It's going to, I will say that the relocation of any utilities is going to be more than the actual cost of the trail and or sidewalk itself. That was the big cost driver on the last section as well. So that's what we need to try and figure out is what are the costs for a sidewalk? What are the costs for a trail? What are the costs to move either or? If it's a trail, you're going to have to move things further back, and there's going to be more easement that's going to be required from a private landowner. If it's a sidewalk, we may be able to squeak by in most cases, with maybe just a couple areas that need a little bit of additional ground for that easement.
Do you have any major problems on the west side, going west from there?
It's tricky. The biggest thing is getting the utilities to actually claim what lines are theirs. We had a lot of lines that were not claimed, and so we didn't know who they belonged to until we finally, quite honestly, told all the different utilities, if no one's claiming them, then we're just going to go ahead and cut them, because obviously they're abandoned lines. That brought many crews back out to determine whose lines they were, and lo and behold, they were claimed.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so.
Really, you don't have a timeline for your.
Yeah, no, it's just, I'm just trying to set the stage for this project.
Okay.
So it's not so convoluted once we actually want to roll with it.
Okay, all right, understandable.
This was discussed at Bike and Ped, and we did make a recommendation to come forward to village board to ask to do the preliminary.
Yeah, and.
Just get the preliminary information, research, figure out.
And you know, I should point out too, you know, with the Capital Credit Union building right on top of the hill, I mean, that now has a YMCA in it, taking what, 2 floors? And so, you know, you can't get to that Y now, and you really, because you really don't want to be on West Main Avenue. There's a lot of truck traffic, fairly large truck traffic on there, and there's no way to get to the Y now unless you're driving, you know, and so there's, again, things are evolving in that area, which is just kind of driving us to move on this a little bit quicker than maybe we normally would have.
The one question I have on McMahon's agreement, I guess, you just said, and it sounded like at Bike and Ped, that we were going to let them kind of decide whether it was a sidewalk or a path. But in here, it sounds like they are just going to be looking at a sidewalk only and not. Nothing will conform to the requirements of a bicycle facility.
They'll be looking at both, Tracy.
Well, it doesn't really say that. He says they're going to look at the construction of a 5-foot concrete sidewalk.
This was written up actually before the Bike and Ped Committee meeting.
Okay, that'd be great, because I know we went back and forth on that and didn't want to say, okay, tell them you're just going this way when maybe.
No, and it could be a trail. Part of the issue with the trail, and we could do a trail like to Arts, that would make sense. The challenge is from Arts Lane, which is a little cul-de-sac just to the east of Harmon Studio. The challenge from Arts Lane to Highway 41 is the spacing. You've got Ashwaubenon Creek that is crossing right there. It's a fairly large bridge going across a fairly long gully. You've got a sidewalk, which is right there, which could be used as part of the connection between the two. If you went with a trail the whole way, you'd literally need to build a bridge across this gully, and that bridge could potentially be cost prohibitive to build. So that's one of the reasons why we were looking initially at a sidewalk for that stretch. But that's for McMahon to kind of vet out a little bit and determine what's going to be doable.
Rex, is there a bridge, a sidewalk on the bridge that you can use right now, is what you're saying?
There could be, yes. There is, Gary, there's a guardrail, so they might need to take the guardrail down and do a little different guardrail system, but the sidewalk is already there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Across the bridge on the south side.
Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion to proceed using TID4 funds to do the planning, extending the West Main Avenue trail.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to use TID4 funds for West Main Avenue Trail planning. Any more discussion?
Under discussion, if you can just clarify with McMahon that you want both, because in their project description, it definitely says they're not looking at paths at all. And I think it's important to look at both.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Will do.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
10I, action on proclamation declaring April 28, 2023 as Arbor Day in the village of Ashwaubenon. Tim is not here, but this is our Arbor Day proclamation. Rex, do you want to take this or say anything?
Just that typically we have been a Tree City USA for quite a few years now. there's certain standards put out there by the Arbor Day Foundation. One of them, to be declared a Tree City USA, is to have a proclamation that was approved by your municipal board. So that's what you have before you tonight. So we can continue on with the process of having our yearly designation.
Is this a standard one you've been using for years?
Yes, no
All right,
different.
move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the Arbor Day Proclamation. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank
Thank you.
you. 10J, action on committee appointments for May 2023 through April 2024. There were 2 vacancies on Bike and Ped, but you did get those sent to you. There were 2 people that applied. So, thank you, Kelly. So I need a motion to approve the committee appointments.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the committee appointments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 11, items for next agenda. If you have any, please call the Village Hall. Number 12, closed session items. During the meeting, the Village Board of the Village of Ashwaubenon may convene into closed session pursuant to item A, B, C, and D. As listed in the agenda, the Village Board may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute Section 19.85, Parent 2, to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda. Need a motion to go into closed session.
I'll make a motion to enter closed session.
Second.
Motion and a second to go into closed session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, we got to have roll call, sorry. Forgot about that.
President Kardowski.
Yes.
Trustee Paul.
Yes.
Trustee Atkinson.
Yes.
Trustee Zerbal.
Yes.
Trustee Service.
Yes.
Trustee Krieger.
Yes.
And Trustee Flukie.
Yes.
Thank you.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Who gets the turkey?